They called their older sibling. Not about work, not about money, not about the usual things people call their older sibling about when life gets complicated. They called about you, and they did not open with your name. They opened with silence. 3 seconds of nothing, just breathing on the other end of the line, and the sibling immediately knew. Because you do not call your older sibling and breathe into the phone for 3 seconds unless something has gotten under your skin in a way you cannot handle alone. And the sibling said, all. Right? Who is it? Not what is it? Who? Because the sibling has heard this person talk about work stress and financial problems and friend drama, and it never sounds like this. This weighted, heavy, slightly bewildered silence. This only happens when a person has entered the equation. And this person has entered the equation so completely that the equation no longer makes sense without them. That person is you. That is what God is showing me. I sat down this morning, and this message arrived before I had time to prepare for it. God does that when something is urgent. He skips the warm-up and goes straight to the delivery. Greetings, I am Ava, and welcome to Archangel Blessings Light. If you are new here, I encourage you to subscribe, as today's discussion will unfold revelations that may surprise you. For those interested in a deeper engagement, to my esteemed members, I want to express my gratitude. Your support is the foundation of every message I share. Please know that your contributions to this channel are returned to you threefold by God. I hold this belief, and I pray it over each of you. As we prepare to delve into today's topic, I ask that you only take away what resonates with you and leave behind the rest. What I'm about to share comes from divine inspiration and may not be intended for everyone. However, if it speaks to you, trust that you are meant to hear it. Let me set the scene, as God has provided me with this narrative in detail, and it is imperative that I convey it as I received it. In this conversation, a sibling was listening intently when they asked, "Tell me about them." This person, typically reserved and self-reliant, began to share not merely facts about you, but rather a heartfelt confession. Rather than commenting on your appearance or profession, they expressed, "There is something about them that I cannot articulate, and it is driving me to distraction." They are not trying to achieve anything. They simply exist, and every time I am near them, my entire being feels reconfigured. I am at a loss regarding how to process this. The sibling fell silent for a genuine moment, not the polite silence, but a contemplative one. This sibling has known you their entire life and has seen you engage in casual dating and disengage easily, yet they have never heard you described in such a profound manner. They inquired further, asking, "What specifically stands out to you about them?" What followed was a revelation that caught the siblings' attention. They noted, they possess something innate, not an act or performance, but a profound steadiness. It's as though they have long ago defined who they are and have not compromised that since. While others adjust their demeanor based on the company they keep, this person remains unchanged in every setting. That is both perplexing and compelling because I find myself anticipating a facade that simply isn't there. It is just them, wholly authentic, and that is unmistakably you. Now, before I explain why you embody this steadiness, I must share what the sibling expressed next. Your unwavering consistency is a result of enduring circumstances that most would find unbearable. Your formative years were marred by unpredictability. Those who should have been reliable became sources of instability, present one moment and absent the next, warm in the morning and cold by evening. Your remarkable mind, keenly observant and already strategizing your survival, made an unspoken vow within the core of your being. I will not be the one who shifts. I will be the constant. You have honored this vow with such loyalty and duration that it has transformed from a mere decision into the essence of who you are. You maintain a steady demeanor in all environments, showcasing authenticity in every interaction, possessing depth regardless of external validation. This inherent quality is palpable to others, even if they cannot articulate it. Your steadiness instills a sense of solid ground beneath their feet. This is not merely personality, it is a sacred covenant. You formed a covenant with yourself, and God has honored it by surrounding you with an anointing that naturally attracts the right individuals and creates discomfort for those who are not. This is what I continually discern. Returning to the phone call, the siblings' response is crucial. They absorbed every detail, every facet describing how your presence affects this person's ability to cope in ordinary life, then posed a single question. When you are near them, do you feel the need to perform? There was a significant pause before this person responded. No. Therein lies the dilemma. I do not feel compelled to perform around them. I simply exist. The version of myself that merely exists is rarely seen, yet they perceive it without prompting for me to reveal it. The sibling exhaled deeply, not a sigh of realization, but one akin to a doctor confirming a diagnosis with a key symptom. Then they uttered 5 words that altered the course of the entire discussion. Don't let that one go. Not a casual suggestion, but the weighty counsel of someone who has faced life's harsher lessons regarding the value of holding onto genuine connections. This person listened in silence, for those words from someone they revere were transformative, making the situation tangible in a way it had never been before. It transitioned from a mere sentiment to a pronounced verdict demanding action. In the aftermath of the phone call, a storm named was one easier to confront than one unnamed. They began observing you with a renewed perspective, closely examining the subtleties. They noted how you cradle your phone when conversing, face down, screen against your palm, a clear declaration that the person in front of you holds your complete attention. They recognized how you approach conflict, not with aggression or withdrawal, but with a calmness that conveys, I am present, I will not waver, and I genuinely seek understanding. They also perceived how you treat individuals who hold no apparent benefit for you, extending the same warmth, maintaining eye contact, addressing them by name with genuine appreciation for knowing it. Every detail they notice becomes a component of a structure that they never authorized. This structure resembles certainty, and for someone who has spent their life keeping one foot near the exit, such certainty is the most daunting design they have ever encountered. Their body, in turn, betrays every defense they have meticulously constructed. When they know they will see you, even if it's just the possibility of your presence, their preparation transforms. They spend an additional 4 minutes in front of a mirror that they previously glanced at for only 2 seconds. They change their shirt, revert back to the original, and then change it again. This is not an act of vanity. Something within them has determined that the version you witness is more significant than any other, and they cannot pinpoint when this priority was established, yet it is persisting, and they cannot locate the controls to disable it. When they find themselves in the same room with you, breathing the same air, their body undergoes responses that their mind has not sanctioned. Their breathing unconsciously synchronizes with yours. Their inhales match yours, their pacing aligns with yours, and their entire nervous system begins functioning on a frequency that is not inherently theirs but yours. Their body has resolved that you are the standard against which everything else is measured. Meanwhile, their mind, a voice that has dominated the room throughout their life, has been quietly overridden by a rib cage that resonates differently in your presence. Recently, while in a grocery store, they encountered a product, a brand, mundane yet linked to an exchange you had that they shouldn't recall but do. Their mind has archived every word you've ever shared. They halted in the aisle, grasping their basket and staring blankly at a shelf, startled back to reality by a passerby's polite request for space. They place the item in the basket, not out of necessity, as they do not even use it, but because it had a connection to you, and any link to you, even through an object, was deemed worth the effort. They are finding themselves losing arguments with their own reason and aren't even invested in winning anymore. At a dinner gathering last week, amidst engaging conversations and laughter, they caught themselves comparing others mid-story. They recognized that their timing faltered. They delivered a punchline too soon, before the build-up had settled. They would typically allow silence to do half the work, delivering a perfectly timed response that would draw all attention. Realizing their actions, they gripped the edge of the table, fixating on its center, acknowledging within that they are in profound trouble, not of a perilous kind, but rather a realization that futures without you are unfathomable. This awareness has come uninvited, settling in without any hint of departure. I feel compelled to pause, as this weighs heavily on my spirit. If you resonate with this, and if someone has confided in an older sibling about how you disrupt their equilibrium, wholly unaware of the impact you have, please comment that even their sibling is aware. This situation has penetrated their lives beyond personal confines, reaching the one relationship where honesty is imperative. It's vital that others who share this frequency come across this video. The sibling in question has been watching since that phone call, not intrusively, but with the careful gaze of an older sibling, and they have been witnessing confirmations of everything they'd heard during that conversation. This person is changing, becoming softer in ways that do not detract from their strength. They've begun listening more intently before responding and have started asking genuine, follow-up questions that reflect active engagement rather than mere hearing. The sibling recognizes the source of this change, watching you interact with others and realizing your approach is far superior to their own, not because it's a technique, but because it's authentic. Reality has proven to be more effective than strategy. Just 2 days ago, the sibling texted this individual with a single line devoid of context. "Have you talked to them yet?" Upon reading the message, this person locked their phone to their chest and closed their eyes, contemplating for 40 minutes before responding, not because they were unsure of the answer, but because acknowledging no to the person who encouraged them to hold on to you felt like admitting a failure they are still attempting to evade. They have begun evolving, not for you, but because of you. This distinction is significant. They are now more diligent with their time, not in a busy sense, but intentionally. They have started to decline invitations that previously filled their schedules with obligations and social events that drained their energy, yet yielded little substance. Somewhere in their exposure to you, they have come to understand that mere presence without depth is nothing more than attendance. They long to be fully engaged in their life, as you are in yours, without apology or a subconscious wish for escape. They have taken to journaling, not daily or formally, but occasionally recording thoughts that they would have previously let fade away. Reflections on who they aspire to become, inquiries they are not yet prepared to address. Your name appears in those entries more than any other. They would be embarrassed to learn that I am sharing this, yet God witnesses the private words people write, occasionally choosing to voice them through individuals like me because the one who inspired the writing deserves acknowledgement. They keep encountering echoes of you, not your physical presence, but impressions. A colleague displays an identical mannerism to yours when they disagree but wish to remain silent, causing this person's chest to tighten and their concentration to wane as they require a moment to recalibrate after being unexpectedly transported back to a moment with you. A barista at a coffee shop has a laugh that mirrors yours, not in sound, but in the warmth and rhythm that resonates. This person has taken to frequenting that coffee shop daily, fully aware of how irrational this may seem, yet they continue to return regardless. They are gathering remnants of you from the world because they lack sufficient pieces of the true you. These fragments, though imperfect and borrowed, feel better than an absence. This is not mere infatuation. Rather, it is a scenario where someone encounters an irreplaceable individual, crafted by God, and attempts to substitute them with approximations. These approximations merely serve to accentuate the essence of the original. Then there are those inexplicable moments, echoes that seem less like coincidences and more like intentional signals. They might open a book, seemingly at random, and discover a sentence containing a word you uniquely use. It's not an ordinary word. It's one you've altered, infusing it with your distinctive inflection. Finding it printed on a page feels akin to receiving a message from the universe, directed towards the part of themselves that yearns to deny this reality. While driving, a street sign captures their attention, not for its significance, but because the letters nearly spell your name. Almost, and this near resemblance tightens their grip on the steering wheel, sets their jaw, and warms their eyes with a sentiment they would hesitate to admit is nearly tears. These are not signs they seek, they are signs that seek them. The universe persistently showcases you in their peripheral vision, despite their efforts to look elsewhere, indicating that God's intentions are anything but subtle. God is being insistent. This persistence has purpose. They often envision what it would be like to cease holding back. The most recurring image they embrace is not one of grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but simply a moment of liberating release. They imagine themselves seated across from you in a tranquil setting, a car or a bench, perhaps devoid of an audience. In that moment, they would abandon the urge to edit, to curate, or to filter their words through a lens of safety or strategy. Instead, they would express whatever comes to mind, revealing the unrefined version of themselves. This version speaks not of polished perfection, but of someone who has realized their life is missing a fundamental element that embodies your essence and your energy, even the way your presence renders silence productive. In this scenario, your expression remains unchanged. You neither gasp nor pull away. You simply gaze back at them with a steady warmth, the kind of attention that prompted their sibling to advise them not to let you slip away, even before they had met you. That gaze is sufficient. It is the answer. Yet there is another image, an even quieter one, that they often return to. It is set in a kitchen, not the one they currently occupy, but rather a future kitchen. It is deep into the night, past midnight, where the world has fallen silent, allowing one to hear the refrigerator's hum. You are sitting on the counter, not a chair, with your legs dangling and a glass in hand, recounting a long-held secret, something you have never shared with anyone, and it weighs heavy. They stand against the opposite counter, merely listening, neither formulating a reply nor preparing advice, but just holding space for you as you do for others, completely, without flinching or attempting to remedy what does not belong to them. In this scenario, what profoundly moves them is not just the closeness, but the trust. The realization that you would choose them as the person to confide in about your most guarded truth. This selection, being entrusted with your deepest thoughts, is what they desire above all else. More than physical touch, more than commitment, and beyond any vocabulary that attempts to capture human emotions. They wish to be your sanctuary as you have inadvertently become theirs. Now, I turn my attention to you. This narrative is yours. You traverse through life as the same individual in every room, often unaware that such consistency is incredibly rare. You present yourself as whole, not perfect, but whole, with visible cracks through which warmth shines, inviting anyone brave enough to delve beyond the surface. Someone noticed, and in response, they called their sibling. This sibling, having observed their family member cycle through relationships as one does through seasons, sensed something unprecedented in their tone and immediately recognized that what they were describing was not mere attraction, but recognition. This occurs when one's spirit identifies something it has awaited, finally catching up to what the spirit already comprehends. Understand this about your impact on others. You do not demand change. You do not issue ultimatums. You do not perform your worthiness and then await validation. You exist authentically and consistently, exuding the same warmth in a crowded room as you do in solitude at 2 a.m. This consistency, which costs you nothing as it is simply who you are, demands everything from others. Once they experience being near someone wholly authentic, every relationship rooted in performance suddenly reveals itself for what it truly was: a production. Productions are exhausting, while you embody rest. The sibling described this sensation, noting that being around you feels like rest, not excitement, not thrill, but rest. They, having lived long enough to recognize the rarity of such peace between individuals, understood at once that this was not a fleeting phase or infatuation in disguise. This was the real thing, the genuine connection most individuals pursue their whole lives without ever finding. And they stumbled upon it in you, unexpectedly, which is how true connections often manifest. I wish for you to enter a season where those who recognize your unique frequencies cease their circling and instead arrive, where the steadiness you cultivated in moments of solitude forms the foundation of what God is constructing in the light. You were never excessive. You were not overly steady or too genuine for the spaces that could not appreciate you. You were early. The right spaces are now opening to welcome you. Carry this with you. What is destined for you cannot be taken away. God's timing is not late. It is precise, and everything approaching you now is doing so with intention. If this discourse has provided clarity today, know that a small gesture of thanks is greatly valued and aids me in continuing to share these messages. If you found this insight meaningful, please share it with someone in need, subscribe to stay tuned for what lies ahead, and feel free to comment on your reflections. I cherish you and shall see you in the next one.